Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Get early access to Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year. 25% off the i8 bed, our most popular. Plus free home delivery. Limited time. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
That's right.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Taylor Sharp. Murray.
Murray, present.
Muse. Oh. Don't shake your head, Taylor. Some things just have to live on. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. A ton to do today, including some breaking news, which is where we will start. So let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
We will get to Brian Kelly addressing the Garrett Nussmeier injury here in just a quick second. Joe Sloan met with reporters. Cam Sanders will be here next hour. Through again last night. Awesome. So we got a ton to get to today. Saints, Chargers, what to watch, a lot to delve into. We do have some breaking news, though, right here as we push off from the dock. WAFB was the first to report it. We have since confirmed over at LouisianaSports.net. We have confirmed at LouisianaSports.net that LSU running back JT Lindsey has been arrested on a felony accessory charge. Effectively, what Lindsey is accused of is he's accused of having 2 men stay at his dorm earlier this year. Those 2 men were wanted for murder. So according to Chris Perrette, Lindsey's attorney, he told WAFB that Lindsey was unaware the men were wanted for murder at the time that they stayed with him in his apartment, and he had nothing to do with those alleged crimes. I'll tell you, I did reach out to Chris Perrette. Have been unable yet to make contact and get a statement. As soon as they do provide it, the firm or Chris does provide a statement, we'll be glad to share it with you. Don't have anything else to add at this point. So that is a felony charge. And JT Lindsey did, in fact, turn himself into LSU police, again, all according to the LSU or the WAFB report. So we'll continue to follow the story. You look at the running back situation, and there's obviously a lot going on there where you return Caden Durham and Caleb Jackson, you bring in 5-star Harlan Berry, but of course Trey Holly's now playing at Southern University after his legal situation was not able to get resolved, just allowed him to get back on the field, transferring to Southern. And now JT Lindsey, we'll wait and see what happens here. But as we know with the Trey Holly situation, if you are charged with a felony, then you are ineligible, according to LSU rules, to play. So we'll wait and see how this all plays out. But as of right now, JT Lindsey today turned himself in to LSU police on a felony accessory charge for allegedly allowing 2 men wanted for murder to stay in his dorm room earlier this year. As it develops, we'll let you know. hard to believe that we'd start the show with anything other than Brian Kelly talking about Garrett Nussmeier, but that happens, and there it is. There has been a wild speculation all week about Garrett Nussmeier. The media was allowed to watch practice Monday, Tuesday. Nothing was amiss. Wednesday was a day where we were already not scheduled to have access. Sometime Wednesday, a rumor started about an injury to Garrett Nussmeier. That rumor just swelled all the way up to speculation about a torn ACL, different things like that. We, many others who cover the team have reported that people within the program told us that it was nothing serious. I counted a handful, 5 people who confirmed all the same thing to me independently. And we were supposed to be able to watch practice Friday morning. We got word Thursday night that media was not going to be allowed to watch practice Friday, but Joe Sloan, who was already scheduled to meet with reporters on Friday, was still going to meet with reporters, and then we get to watch practice on Saturday. When we were gathered waiting for Joe Sloan as practice ended, Brian Kelly, unannounced, came into the media room and didn't even step behind the podium. He just kind of walked to the front of the room and sort of met the whole Nuss thing head on.
Just for the record, he has tendonitis, patella tendonitis. He does not have a torn ACL. We have not amputated his leg. He has a PO'd, and you know the initials of that, patella tendon. He was out there today throwing. Tomorrow he'll be back out, most likely in a practice situation.
PO'd, pissed off, meaning it was aggravated. Previously, as Brian Kelly said, Garrett Nussmeier had a condition, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, from back in 2023, and this is just an aggravation of it. You can go and play that one.
And a lot of that is due to his 2023 Osgood ladder surgery that he had, where the tendon was irritated back then. So this is just chronic, PO'd it a little bit, and we'll calm it down, and the world is still around.
He said there was no worry whatsoever about the long-term effects. Brian Kelly was asked, was there a certain moment in practice? There was, I saw some cockamamie report about Garrett Nussmeier hitting his knee on a lineman's knee brace or something like that. We can talk about it openly now. Of course, you're always going to do your best to protect sources and information. I was told Nuss sort of tweaked something, was a little aggravated, and just took himself out for a play at practice. Brian Kelly was asked, was there a certain play or instant where it happened?
I think he just planted, the wrong way. And when you have something that is, a pre-existing condition, you can piss it off real easy. And that's kind of what happened.
He said they went back and looked at the film of practice. Every practice is videoed, so they can go back and study practice footage. Said there was no indication on any play. It wasn't like it buckled or he was hit. There was nothing along those lines. It was just probably planted. It flared up a little bit. And he was also asked, would this affect how Nuss continues to practice throughout fall camp?
No, you let it calm down. Just like anytime you have something like that, generally they use a Medrol pack or something, to take the inflammation out. But it's on the scale of 1 to 10. This is like a 1.5 on the scale of 1 to 10. So that's just being honest with you. So we get the right information out there, regarding Nuss.
Okay, so can everybody exhale now and breathe a little easier? And I actually had somebody reply to me on Twitter. I posted that video on Twitter, and someone replied to me and said, you see, where there's smoke, there's fire. It was something. No, it wasn't. This was a gigantic nothing burger. The head coach just told you on a scale of 1 to 10, this is a 1.5, not even affecting his practice. Do you understand Aaron Anderson, the guy who led your team in receptions and receiving yards a year ago, has not been out there since the first day, and we didn't even make this big a deal of that? This is a gigantic zero. Like, had we all, the media, been at practice that day, we probably would not have even noticed anything was amiss at all. Like, Brian Kelly told you, it wasn't even a play. There wasn't even a moment in practice where it happened where you could trace it to that. It's just, this guy's got a knee condition. It just flared up a little bit. I could tell you as someone who lives with chronic back pain, Like, there are moments when I slip a disc and I know it. He's talking about a Medrol pack. I know that very, very well. It's a 6-day pack where you take the full dose the first day and you taper down over the course of the days, and it knocks out inflammation. I mean, it's a steroid pack that knocks out inflammation when you have a flare-up. That's all he's saying. He even went on and said, like, this is one of those things where people who deal with tendonitis, you take 2 Advil and you call your doctor the next day. Like, it's no big deal whatsoever. But now in this part, if I could wildly speculate, like, allow me here, I'm telling you now, I am speculating at big banner flashing bulb lights. Now I'm speculating. This is what I think happened. You go out to practice, there's probably 200 people out there. You got 120 football players, coaches, analysts, grad assistants, support staff personnel that go watch practice. Then you've got doctors and trainers, and you got student trainers, the ones that run out there with the water bottle spraying it in the player's mouth when they come on the sideline. And you got sports information student workers as well who make sure the media don't walk where they're not supposed to and hand out name badges and stuff like that. And then you got all the video crews, the one that go video from the towers and the one that video from the end zones. And then you got the social media guys that are out there with cameras getting practice shots and all that stuff. Probably about 200 people. Probably about 200 people at the facility. Maybe 250. Somebody probably saw Garrett Nussmeier go, whatever, like shake a little thing, get a hitch out his giddy up, went and told their buddy. Their buddy went and put it on a message board, and then boom, 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 the snowball started rolling. Like, that's what I think probably happened here. And it's another opportunity to remind you, and I don't care if you think this is preachy or whatever, it's just what it is. I always say consider the source. I'm not saying you have to consider me a great source. You may not like me. If that's fine, okay, then don't trust me. I don't care. Wilson Alexander does a great job covering this team. There are Michael Cobble, Jacques Doucet, Scott Rabelais, people who have been around this beat forever, for literally for decades, that have great relationships with people on the coaching staff, within athletic administration, that can get answers to these questions. And if everyone that covers this team on a day-to-day basis that have those types of relationships are telling you this is nothing, then it's nothing. Even national people who have great relationships locally, Bruce Feldman or Ross Dellinger, like, if nobody credible is reporting it, then it's a nothing. Like, if Shams Charania reports Luka's been traded to the Lakers, take it to the bank. He's been traded to the Lakers. I always encourage you, like, this is a good litmus test. Just ask yourself, what does someone have to lose if they're wrong? That's always the thing. If Shams is wrong about Luka, his career's over. Like, you never outrun that. Like, if someone on this beat is wrong about Nussmeier having a knee injury, you never outrun that, ever. If a blogger, a YouTuber, who, by the way, God bless you, man, go create content. I wish everyone good luck, and I hope you crush it. Go create content. But don't think you're Woodward and Bernstein. Like, there are people who go to school. Like, I went to school for that. Like, I went to journalism school. And I'm way out of practice, but there's certain journalistic standards that I had to go to school for 4 years to learn and to try to perfect. Anyway, gigantic nothing burger, absolutely nothing to see, nothing to discuss. Nussmeier was at practice today. He'll be at practice tomorrow. Onward. Hopefully we never have to bring this up again. I'm glad Brian Kelly addressed it. All right. It's After Further Review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. Show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. Y'all, the Who-Dat's got a game on Sunday. Hard to believe, right? But the Saints play the Chargers in preseason action on Sunday. We're looking forward to that. And you're going to be watching that game. Make sure you got plenty of ice-cold Bud Light. Maybe throw something on the grill, crack open an ice-cold Bud Light, and drink easy. We'll watch the Saints and the Chargers this weekend. Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the Tigers and the Saints. All right, Joe Sloan did meet with reporters after practice. So I want to delve into some of what Joe Sloan had to say, talking about the quarterbacks, his impression of the offensive line and some of the perceived struggles so far. You'll hear that when we continue here. It's AFR.
After Further Review.
We're heading into the weekend, and if you have trouble with your AC, remember, there's no need to wait until Monday because River City's 1 hour air, they work nights, holidays, weekends, and they'll always come out nights, holidays, and weekends. So although we're going into Friday evening and tomorrow's Saturday, if you have something wrong with your AC, it's not keeping up, it shuts down on you, no worries. call River City's 1 Hour Air. I'm going to give you the number in just a second because they'll come out nights, holidays, and weekends, and you'll never have to go to sleep hot. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001, or online at onehourbr.com. You can spell it out, O-N-E, onehourbr.com. You see the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side all over town because your friends and neighbors do what I do. They trust River City's 1 Hour Air. So as we head into the weekend, if you have issues with your AC, remember who's always on time or you don't pay a dime. It's River City's 1 Hour Air, 752-0001.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
I think they've been fantastic so far. Really, out of the multiple days, I thought, they've come out with energy and juice, really all but maybe one. I thought they woke up halfway, but really they're bringing that. And if they do that and establish how we play in terms of physicality and effort, it'll be a lot of fun to watch. So that's been the key for us.
I'm going to go ahead and assume the one day Joe Sloan was saying that the offense didn't have physicality and effort was a Tuesday. It was the last time the media was out there. It was a day that was, if you go back and have any interest to check out our practice report from that day, it was a sort of lazy, uninspired, lackadaisical effort by the offense, and the defense took full advantage. See if that changes on Saturday when the Tigers are back out there. Glad to have you hanging out with us here on this Friday edition of AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Joe Sloan did meet with reporters on Friday after practice. The Tigers had an off day on Thursday, a recovery day. If you follow them on social media, they went to an arcade, lots of photos. Very appropriately placed photo of Garrett Nussmeier playing air hockey, where they were sure to get a full-length photo so you could see his knees bending, no braces, anything like that. No limitations there, playing air hockey. Hat tip to the LSU football social media department. They did a great job tactfully releasing photos of Garrett Nussmeier over the last 36 hours or so. But Tigers are back on the practice field on Friday, and Joe Sloan met with reporters afterwards. And, I think a lot of the conversation that we were anticipating having was the growth of the offense from a year ago, where they were very good throwing the ball, obviously, and struggled running the ball, to this year with Joe Sloan now with the added toys in the toy chest that they went and got in the transfer portal, a reshaped offensive line, and a growth in a play caller from year one to year two. But I also think it's important to remember, as we talk about the context of LSU a season ago, we often bring up the fact that LSU struggled to run the ball, which is true. They were 104th in the country in rush offense and dead last in the SEC. LSU struggled mightily to run the football, and there's a lot of reasons therein. Some of it's on the backs. Some of it is on the offensive line. Some of it's on Nussmeier. Some of it's on play calling. Like everybody, when you're that bad at doing a thing, everyone sort of shares a responsibility therein. And we've talked about how this is going to be a team that very much is inspired to run the football. But the other thing, too, that we sometimes forget is last year when Chris Hilton got hurt and subsequently Kyle Parker got hurt, LSU couldn't stretch the field. Does that ring a bell? Like, you had some really talented receivers. You had Aaron Anderson and C.J. Daniels and Kyron Lacey, but nobody that could blow the top off the defense. And it's very clear they went in the portal with an intention of fixing that. Now, look, Jelani Watkins could blow the top off a defense, but he's 5'9" and was a true freshman, and they weren't going to put him in there just to go run fast and run down the field. So all they really ran were slants last year. I mean, everything was within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage. They couldn't stretch the field until at the end of the season when you saw Chris Hilton come back, and then you started to see them take shots down the field. It was very intentional because they could. This year, you don't have that problem. You have a healthy Chris Hilton. You've brought in Barry and Brown. You've got Nick Anderson. You got dudes that can flat fly and blow the top off of defense. And Joe Sloan talked a little today about the differences in the offense from a year ago, his first year as the offensive coordinator, taking over for Mike Denbrock to now.
We're a different team, different offense than we were a year ago. A lot of talent last year, a lot of talent this year, but we're going to make sure that we adapt it to who we have and put them in positions to use their talent and skill to attack defenses. And I think we have a lot of pieces that allow us to do a lot of different things. So that's what we're excited about, and that's what we're making sure we're building every day. Did some of it in spring, right? Some of it in summer, and now putting it into effect in fall camp.
Now, one of the things I think is very obvious that they're building is the ability to run the football in many creative different ways. This is not going to be an I formation give between the tackles running game. This is a very diverse running game, and that is very evident. That's something Joe Sloan talked about.
We got to run the football, right? You got to run the football in the SEC. And I think we've looked at some scheme things. We've looked at some personnel things, right? It's a combination. I think having Caden Durham as a second-year player, obviously he's an electric player and a really good football player, but he still was a true freshman last year that came in June, right? He's a lot better football player today than he was at this time last year. And I think, right, Garrett's understanding of how he can help. And then there's some schematic things where we're going to be able to put some guys in positions to make sure we can create some more explosives in the run game. And I think that's the key, right, is creating explosives in the run game.
Explosives in the run game. And then he also talked about schemes. Remember, you don't have to be a super refined, knowledgeable football savant to recognize what they're doing offensively. We're seeing Xavion Thomas line up in the backfield and take handoffs. We are seeing Juwan Johnson line up in the backfield taking handoffs from Nussmeier. We are seeing Juwan Johnson in the backfield taking direct snaps from Garrett Nussmeier. We are seeing them run the ball on jet sweeps with Xavion Thomas. We saw it in the spring as well with Aaron Anderson, but Aaron Anderson's been injured up until this point after day one. We are seeing zone reads with the quarterback with intention of Garrett Nussmeier running. I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is going to have 100 rushing attempts on the season or anything, but I think his ability to run is going to be part of this offense. They know they have to run the ball. You cannot be 104th in the country and dead last in the SEC in rushing offense and think you're going to be competitive. It's just not a real thing that's going to happen. They've got to be better. And so if it's not going to be in a traditional sense, then they got to get creative, and that's what Joe's saying there. Now, a big part of the traditional sense is getting better on the offensive line. And I asked Joe Sloan today, I asked a very broad question just to see what direction he took it, but I asked his assessment of the offensive line so far through a week of fall camp.
Obviously, we have a lot of competition at guard, and I think you're seeing flashes of different guys daily who are playing really well. I think our tackles, the two guys coming into spring, where those two guys are going to be first-year starters, and I think definitely when you watch, they have been excellent. Excellent in terms of their growth, right? They got to keep coming, they got to get better every day, but I've been really pleased with what they've done. And I think Braylon's played extremely good at center, and I think we have a couple other guys who could, we have some depth at center, which is nice. And then I think, you see some of the young guys who are now starting to come on. I think this is the second half of camp where you'd like to see some of the freshmen or second-year players start to push and take that next step and challenge some of the guys that maybe are in front of them right now.
He talked pretty highly about those offensive tackles. And, what he's looking for moving forward is the continued growth. I want you to listen to this next sound because it's interesting. One of the contentions I've made, and I was curious what he would say, is I think this is a very talented offensive line. We go watch them do individuals, and the offensive line more than holds their own against the defensive front. When they go into a team period, it's like a purple avalanche falling on the offense. It's like a purple blanket just draping over the offensive front. So what it tells me is those five got to learn how to play together. Here was Joe Sloan's contention.
Our defense throws a lot at us. Different fronts, different pressures, and seeing those, and once they get to rep them, and then understand how it feels and how to attack that. So I like the individual growth, and I like the collective growth of the offensive line. But just like the entire offense, we're going to need every day to get fully prepared for what we need to do this fall.
The defense throws a lot at us. Don't think for a second that Blake Baker and Joe Sloan aren't competitive when they go out there. They want to go win their days as well. And Blake Baker is throwing a whole bunch at this team. And that's something Joe Sloan was asked about with Blake, what he's seen from Blake Baker's defense. And in no uncertain terms, he knows what they have to face every day and what other teams are going to have to face.
Now, players playing fast. The implementation of the defense, right, and the structure, so that there's less thinking, more ability to tinker and have different little things that they want to do based on alignments. And I think they're playing really smart football, but also I think there's a lot of really good athletes over there too. I think the secondary is playing extremely well, and I think the whole front's playing well. They pose a lot of problems, right, and it's a good thing for us, right, because then they make an adjustment, then we got to see it and we got to make that adjustment. But it's great for us to see. I think they got some twitchy guys inside coming off the football, which is going to be really good and good to watch on the other side. You know what I mean? When we don't have to play them, so that'd be nice.
Twitchy guys on the inside coming off the football. Brian Kelly said it earlier this week, the ability to affect a pass rush inside out. Because if you're just coming from the edge, you can get wide, you can push him out. Once up the middle, it's much more difficult to deal with. You hear Sloan say it. They got twitchy guys on the inside that have been a lot to deal with. It's been a lot for the LSU offensive line to handle. See over these next couple of weeks how the offensive line continue to progress against that defense, the more reps that they get together. Good convo with Joe Sloan. We should have access to Blake Baker at the end of next week of fall camp. All right, brought to you by Evermore, EVAMOR, Evermore.com, Evermore.com. Drink Evermore if you're interested. Of course, we all need to stay hydrated, but find Evermore anywhere. EVAMOR, available at great local retailers, of course, online at Evermore.com, EVAMOR, Evermore.com. You can find a great local product. It's from right here in Louisiana on the North Shore. It's where their natural artesian well is. They pump the water right out of that well into the bottling plant. They filter just to get the sediment from the ground out of the water, and it goes right into the bottle. Never touches air until you uncap it, take that first delicious sip. It's Evermore. EVAMOR, Evermore.com. Drink Evermore. All right, it's after further review. Our Friday shows are brought to you by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll knock out a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our SEC Fall Preview Series. Our buddy David Cloninger is going to join us. We'll take a look at the Gamecocks. They were 9-3 a year ago. LSU won a very competitive game up in Columbia. South Carolina makes the trip to Baton Rouge this year early in the season. A lot of turnover there at South Carolina, so what could we expect with the Gamecocks? We'll get a thumbnail preview of South Carolina when we return on AFR.
AFR.
If you're thinking of selling your home, why would you call call anyone other than the realtor that sells more homes than anyone? You need to call Darren James. 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com. If you're having knee surgery, would you want a surgeon that's never performed knee surgery or a surgeon that's been one of the top in the industry for 2 decades? I know what I would want. What about if you need to go on a trip? Wouldn't you like a pilot that spent more time in the cockpit than you have behind the wheel of a car? I would. Apply it to anything in life. Who do you want baking your cake or grilling your steak? Who do you want building your house? You want the best. Well, that's Darren James. 335-7666. 335-7666 is where you can find Darren James. You need to sell your home. You need the best. You need Darren James.
Think real estate. Think Darren James.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Realizing that just because it happened last season doesn't mean it just automatically happens this year. I mentioned it upstairs with the electronic media, but there's plenty of examples of teams across the country every year in college football that they're getting pumped up all summer long, and then they go out week one and get smacked in the face and never recover. I mean, that happens every year. For our team, it's making sure our guys realize all the work that went into 2024. It's going to take all that and even more for us to go where we want to go in 25.
Shane Beamer at SEC Football Media Days. The Gamecocks have something brewing up there in Columbia. They haven't had in a long time. Expectation. David Cloninger, good friend of the show, covers the Gamecocks, has for a long time. Good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. David, always great to have you, man. How are you?
Not bad, man. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. How would you gauge what the expectations are like this year in Columbia relative to the recent history there?
I mean, obviously, Matt, you're coming off a good year where you won 9 games. You got your quarterback back, and a lot of times, as Shane Beamer said, that's going to lead to increased expectations. So, this is a place where mostly the expectation stays kind of level. Like, I don't think it's unreasonable to win more than you lose and get to a bowl game, maybe win your rivalry game. But usually that's what that kind of stalls out as. The expectations this year, I've heard some people say, hey, if they don't make it to the playoff, then I consider it a disappointment. Well, okay, we'll see what that is. But they're very, very high, probably as high as they've been in a decade.
Okay. That starts with Lenora Sellers, who, if we're being quite honest, David, the first half of the year was not very good, and down the stretch was outstanding at times. So what do we think, based on the offseason going into this year, is a realistic expectation for Lenora Sellers?
I'm not saying that's some confusing terms there, Matt, especially here, saying realism and then expectations. But you want to see him improve a little bit. You want to see him reach the ceiling that I think is still high above him. Continue to do the things he does well, which a big part of how he played in the second half of last year was holding on to the football, not having as many turnovers as he had early in the year. So he saw that and really became the hype machine that you see in front of you today. So, I think that it wouldn't be too unreasonable to think like, hey, you could be a guy who could get 9 or 10 wins again. You can be a guy who puts them in a major bowl, and you can get a guy who's at least, flirting with first, second place in the SEC, which would get you to the SEC championship game. And then you look at the games that are going to be tough, notably at LSU in October, and say, can you go down there and win? Probably going to be a night game in Baton Rouge. That would be another step forward in your development.
It's also going to be interesting, David, with who's around him, right? Rocket Sanders is gone. The leading receiver on the team a year ago was a tight end. Do they have enough weapons to support Lenora Sellers offensively?
I think so. You knew what you had in Rocket Sanders last year, yet he hadn't done it here. And you didn't really have any proven receivers last year until Josh Simon emerged. So this year they've got the same amount of names, even more so. It's a lot of potential. There just hasn't been anybody really discovered yet. So they've got some guys there. Of course, there's the question about the running back situation. Is Russell Faison going to be cleared? But even if he's not, they do have guys to back him up, notably Oscar Adelaide, who played very fine at the end of last year and in the bowl game. So I think there are going to be enough weapons. They just got to go get the process of discovering them. I mean, this will really be the second straight year they go into a season of, hey, who's going to be your best pass catcher? And they say, well, there's a lot of names out there, so it's going to be one of those.
If you flip it over, David, David Cloninger is our guest from the Post and Courier. He's on Twitter at DCPNC if you want to give him a follow. Great follow for South Carolina News and Info. Probably got to start up front, David. I mean, with you lose Tonka Hemingway's gone, Kyle Kennard's gone. You obviously still have one outstanding potential All-American defensive end. Is there enough in that defensive front seven considering everything that's lost?
It is going to be tough. I mean, that was a dominant defense last year, one of the best I've ever seen, and they lost 7 out of their starting 11. Yet you do start up front with a really good piece in Dylan Stewart, a freshman who last year was an All-American. He's coming back for his sophomore year. And then you've got some really good pieces in the secondary. That said, when you've lost 5 of your front 6, it's not going to be great. So you've got pieces, again, like a lot of pieces on offense. They haven't been proven, but they're guys that some have been around. Some are imports, some from the transfer portal. You do have a guy in Nick Barrett who I thought really could have made a difference or really had an impact last year, similar to the other guys. But he was slowed a little bit by a minor injury, and you said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and save my season, red shirt, and I'll come back and be the leader next year. That's proven to be the case, at least early in camp. And then in the secondary, where USC's been very good over the years, I think they've got enough back there to really make an impact as well. So it's not going to be easy, but as Clayton White has said, the defensive coordinator, they know that last year's defense might be one of a kind. But this year's defense doesn't want to be the guys that go back. They don't want to be the guys that let it slip.
Yeah. You hear the talk, David, is offensive line. You're replacing 4 or 5 starters. All 4 guys were drafted. It's the biggest question in fall camp. What's the biggest question in fall camp in Columbia?
Ooh, boy, that's a good one. But I'd have to go with special teams. You don't see this often in college football, and you really don't see it with a Shane Beamer team. You're going into a season without your kicker, your punter, your long snapper, or your holder from last year. You lost all 4. And you know how it is with special teams. You know, nobody knows who those guys are until you need it and until they mess up. So when you go in and you say, well, it's just the way things rolled around, and you were blessed with some really good talent at those positions over the past few years, you're just going to have to go get it done. USC has, did sign scholarship kickers and punters, and even a scholarship long snapper to get in here and try to find those answers right away. And that's what they've done. So you hope to go ahead in there and see it, but I know I won't be nervous. I've been there before, but there will be a lot of nerves going around the first time they line up to kick a field goal and a new guy trots out there.
Hey, David, there's a lot of talented teams that have been derailed by a tough schedule. And I look at Carolina and I see at Missouri, at LSU, at Ole Miss, at A&M, and then non-conference games against Clemson and Virginia Tech that bookend the schedule. Who in the hell made this schedule for Shane Beamer? My God. God, can we give my guy a break here a little bit? When you look at the schedule, what do you see?
Well, guys, it's never going to be easy. That's just the way the SEC is. And, of course, with South Carolina having, let's just say it, they've been in the league for nearly 35 years now. They played in one conference championship game. So you say there's never going to be an automatic win if South Carolina's playing in the conference. I mean, even Vanderbilt has managed to sneak up and get them a few times, although not recently. So you look at that and say, yeah, it's always going to be tough. Virginia Tech, they finally got an opening game in the Chick-fil-A kickoff, but it's against that team. How are they going to do? I'll say that this will be my 28th season covering USC football, Matt, and it's actually the most conducive schedule I can remember.
Okay.
And I say that just because the opponents I don't say they're easy, nothing like that, but there's no real stretch in that schedule to say, ooh, that's going to be tough. Everything they have on there is doable to say you could win 10 games in that schedule. The only really tough things I say at LSU, ooh, at Ole Miss, ooh. But the rest of it say, you know what? If you can find a way to beat Missouri in the first month at their field, there's no way you shouldn't be 5-0.
Got to beat Virginia Tech in the opener. So it's Virginia Tech, South Carolina State, Vandy, Missouri. I look at Oklahoma, Alabama, at Ole Miss. That would probably be the 3-game stretch, right? Then the open date, then at A&M. Is that what you see, that stretch right there?
I think so. I mean, it's not a great stretch, but it's not an impossible one either. And so if you look at that and say, well, what's going to go on here? You say, well, Alabama, Oklahoma, it certainly doesn't frighten you. I mean, they went to Oklahoma last year and just put a whooping on them. And then Alabama last year as well. A lot of folks in Columbia, me included, think that's a game that they probably should have won. It didn't end up working out, but you look at this year and say, well, it shouldn't be that difficult this year, should it? And you probably would say, no, it probably should. And then again, there's the case of they have never won at A&M. So you look at all that, Matt, and say, well, it's going to require a lot of things that you've not done before. Never played Oklahoma at home. You have beat Alabama at home, and that was a very memorable game 15 years ago. Never won at A&M.
Right.
But are those teams unbeatable? I don't think so.
Carolina's one you put an asterisk next to, David. It's a team that might be better than they were. It might be better than they were a year ago. See if the schedule allows them to show it on the field. He's David Cloninger. Get him on Twitter at DCPNC if you want to give him a follow. Thanks, man. We always appreciate the time.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. We're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center, OLOLRMC.com/LSU. That's where you can get the website to get more information about the championship health partnership between Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. When we talk about the award-winning physicians that care for LSU student-athletes, well, it's Our Lady of the Lake. And that same championship-level health care is available to you and me. Championship-level research, championship-level cancer care, for stroke patients. If it's pediatrics, heart health, they do it all. It's Our Lady of the Lake, part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System, a multi-state health system with hospitals and clinics, say it often, but what you and I and everyone wants when it comes to our health care, we want access and we want convenience, and Our Lady of the Lake provides that. OLOLRMC.com/LSU if you want to learn more about the championship health partnership between Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, together, we roar. All right, it's After Further Review. Terry will be here in 15 minutes, Riot Radio hours. We will have Cam Sanders in 30 minutes. So Cam Sanders, former LSU Tiger, made his big league debut earlier this week with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He pitched last night as well. Paul Skeens got the start, went 6, and Cam Sanders came out and pitched the 7th. So you had back-to-back LSU Tigers out there for the Pirates in a 7-0 win last night. So great outing, 2 clean outings for Cam Sanders as he makes his big league debut. So we're excited to have Cam Sanders with us exactly 30 minutes from right now. Don't you move, it's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark downtown, Renaissance Southtown. You head into the weekend, I always tell you, the Gregory inside the Watermark is an awesome place to go have Sunday brunch. A lot of people love brunch. And if you love doing a Sunday brunch, maybe it's church then brunch or brunch then church, whatever it may be, check out the Gregory inside the Watermark downtown. Now, the Watermark has been voted by you in the best 225, the best hotel in Baton Rouge. And you walk in and you understand. It is the premier luxury hotel in our city. But even if you're not staying, look, it's great for a staycation. You have an event going on in downtown Baton Rouge. You don't want to drive? Easy. Stay at the Watermark. Have a cocktail or dinner at the Gregory in the lobby bar. Walk to your event. Then just walk back to your hotel. Spend the evening. Great spot there in downtown Baton Rouge. But maybe you have family members or friends or colleagues or clients coming in town for a football game. Make sure they book their reservations now for those football weekends this fall at the Watermark in Baton Rouge.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
So a couple weeks ago, LSU saw Kelly Zinn, a very, very talented rising athletic administrator, leave LSU to become the athletic director at Rutgers. They have found her replacement, and it's Julie Cromer. LSU has made this official. Cromer, as they say, a highly decorated athletics director and proven leader through transformational change in college athletics, has been hired as the new executive deputy athletic director and chief operating officer of LSU athletics. So Cromer was most recently the athletic director at Ohio U. Not Ohio State, Ohio U, the Bobcats. So she went from being the athletics director at Ohio U to now being the COO and deputy AD at LSU. I would say it's equivalent to being like a head coach at an FCS school to becoming a Power 5, a major Power 5 offensive coordinator, if that makes sense. That's sort of the analogy in this move. So it's a very critical role that Julie Cromer is going to fill. She, in this era of LSU athletics, when we're talking about NIL, revenue share, needing to develop and establish new revenue streams, ways to balance budgets, all of those things become critically important. It's why what Kelly Zinn was doing and finding new and creative revenue streams in the rev share era was so critically important. And losing her was impactful. But Julie Cromer is replacing her. So that is official now, and good luck to her. We'll see if we can maybe chat with Julie at some point down the line when she gets settled. But we'll be fascinated to hear what her ideas are for revenue generation in this new era. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com. We tell you every day, kill mold, remove odor. It's Parish Restoration or parishrestoration.com. Patented, non-toxic dry fog treatment. Remember what I just said, patented, so nobody else is doing it. Non-toxic, so it's safe for your family, your pets, your plants, everything in your home. And it's a dry fog. Dry fog. So it's not going to mess with your carpet, your furniture, your upholstery, your drapes, your sheetrock. It's easier. Comes in, it'll get in every nook and cranny. It'll kill all the mold down to the spores and other harmful pathogens if you need to sanitize. It's Parish Restoration. Go to parishrestoration.com. That's parishrestoration.com. All right, Terrio's coming up in 10 minutes from right now. Right now, Muso. Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, we start with NFL preseason football. The Bengals decided to play their starters a night ago against the Philadelphia Eagles. Joe Burrow responded quite well to that. 9 out of 10, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was awesome. As you might expect, Jamar Chase was on the receiving end, a good bit of those passes. 4 receptions on 4 targets, 77 yards, and a touchdown for Jamar Chase. He had a long of, a long of 36 in that ballgame. On the other side, you saw Andre Sam had 4 stops for the Eagles, second leading tackler in that game. See if he can make himself a roster spot. Jamal Adams as well for the Raiders a night ago. 3 tackles in that ballgame, third leading tackler. They tied with the Seattle Seahawks. Paul Skeens, dominant a night ago for the Pittsburgh Pirates. 6 shutout innings, didn't walk anybody, struck out 8, got the win. That's his 3rd win in his last 4 starts.
And he's still sub 500.
Indos, the Pirates have scored 3 runs, 6 runs, now 7 maybe they're starting to figure this out a little bit when Paul Skeens pitches. It's about time. Cam Sanders pitched the 7th, and he was perfect. Shutout, no hits. Awesome. Great job for Cam Sanders. And then let's see here. Grant Taylor. Taylor walked a couple, gave up a hit, pitched around it, though, with a couple strikeouts, threw up the 0 in his 1 inning of work. That's Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com. Gents, if you are thinking of popping the question, do what Louisianians have done for 4 decades. Go to Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. We talk all the time about the Lee Michaels experience. You walk in and they offer you a beverage. They offer you chocolates on a tray. When you talk about Lee Michaels buying for now 10 locations, they can get what they want. Custom pieces. They accept returns. If she's not thrilled, they want her to love it and for you to be the hero. So if you buy something and she's not thrilled, they accept returns. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. A lot of people trade in their ring for an upgrade. Maybe you have a milestone anniversary. Trade in the old diamond for an upgrade. They can work with you. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. lmfj.com. lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Okay, y'all, putting a button here on hour number 1. Busy day if you missed it. JT Lindsey, LSU running back, turned himself into LSU police today. An accessory charge. When we do get more information on that, we'll certainly pass it along. You can learn more at louisianasports.net. Brian Kelly debunking the Nussmeier injury rumors. A ton. Busy day. Terrio's next.
AFR.
Do business with someone you know. Parrish Construction and Roofing. ParrishBuilt.com. ParrishBuilt.com. You know, we do residential roofing, residential repairs, roof replacements. Commercial as well. Had a great lunch yesterday with our commercial roofing manager, Matt Pearson, and a prospective client. Hope to be able to help. We do so much more than that as well. Repairs, replacements. We do gutters. ParrishBuilt.com, ParrishBuilt.com. And we do soft wash. So if you look at your home, sometimes there's like black streaks on your roof. Sometimes it's just algae, just from the weather over time. It'll build. You get up there, soft wash that off your roof. It'll extend the life of your roof as well, make it healthier, and soft wash your entire house. The Scone household just got soft washed by Parrish just a few weeks back. So you want to beautify the exterior of your entire home, soft wash from Parrish could be a great option. Go to ParrishBuilt.com, ParrishBuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. Parrish Construction and Roofing.